Loads of speculation about loads of players going to loads of different clubs. One I didn't expect, Dani Alves to Manchester City. What's your take on that?
Well, from Manchester City's perspective, it makes sense.
It does.
They're looking for a right back. They have no right back that can be and can carry out the role that Pep Guardiola would want out of that position. Dani Alves fits that role very well. It's a player that he knows well, Pep Guardiola, having had him at Barcelona. So it makes sense for Manchester City. For Juventus and for Dani Alves, I don't know that you're really upgrading if you're Dani Alves. You just went to a Champions League final. You're very close to winning a championship there. A poor second half by Juventus just kind of threw that out the window. But it doesn't take away from the fact that he is appreciated and beloved in Juventus. At least he has been up until he's been throwing out sort of Instagram and social media messages out there that now fans are starting to turn on him. But it just doesn't seem to make sense for Dani Alves to leave Juventus at this point. I think he had a rebirth of his career.
Yep.
And people have appreciated more about Dani Alves with him being at Juventus than what he was at Barcelona, because of the hole he left at Barcelona, how Barcelona were unable to cope without Dani Alves. I think his presence in Juventus has been very important.
I read a really good first-person article on the Players' Tribune by Dani Alves prior to the Champions League final. And it was him talking about the struggles that he had growing up in Brazil and how all sorts of things had to come to fruition for him to now be in the position that he's in, and he appreciates that. There's two things that might be the reason behind this. You mentioned why maybe he should stay. Money and Pep Guardiola, reuniting with Pep. The reason I brought up his past in his article, he's 34. He's got a year left at Juve, but he doesn't play like a 34. You saw his numbers. I mean, he plays like a youngster. So if you got him on a 2-year deal, certainly an upgrade for City, but would he play all the games? That would be the other thing, because Kyle Walker's been mentioned as well.
Yeah, so you need to wait to see where all these pieces fall in for. I don't think that Dani Alves is the only option that Manchester City is going after in that right back position. You just mentioned the age, 34, and while he looks lively right now, the thing about age and players is that when he goes, it's not a slow transition. All of a sudden you show up and you don't quite have it, and it's difficult for a player who depends so much on his ability to come, get forward, and then get back, and go forward and get back. When that goes for Dani Alves, then it's game, set, match, because that's what he gives you. So he's always an outlet down the right-hand side. So I would be very careful if I'm Manchester City in thinking that this is my solution for the future. He would be the solution for the very near future, and perhaps that's good enough for Guardiola, that he takes care of the next year, year and a half, and then after that, so be it. If I'm Juventus, it doesn't seem like it would be the best option for me to let Dani Alves go.
That's how I want to end, because he's got a 2-year deal. He's got 1 year left on that. They're talking about a fee of like $5 million. I mean, it's nothing in the current present-day market. If they wanted to keep him, then they would. So why do you think they would let him go for just $5 million? Why don't you think they'd make more of an effort to keep him?
I think if that's the number and that's what's being thrown around, if you're Juventus, you're saying to yourself, no, let's see him play out his contract. He's here, he's under contract, $5 million. It's beyond a low price for Dani Alves. I mean, that's a rollback price right there if you ever wanted to. That's clearance. That's clearance price, and he's not a clearance sort of player.
No.
You shouldn't be so desperate to sell Dani Alves because he's been so productive for you. He was one of the key contributors for Juventus in the last couple months of the season. He should remain at Juventus. If you're Juventus, you don't see Dani Alves walk out that door, not for $5 million.
No, totally agree. I mean, it's a deal that certainly Manchester City would be getting the better of, but for Juventus, does this make sense? I don't think so.